What's going on, guys? This is Barney, and today I'm bringing you my first PC commentary. And for this first game, I chose a game that wasn't anything special. I don't get a beastly score or anything like that. It's just a normal 2.0 KD game with a lot of MCOM arming and a lot of time because of my aggressive playstyle. But this is how I play, and I think that you guys will appreciate that instead of me posting some 10 plus KD games where I don't give a shit about my objectives or my teammates and just go for the kills. But anyways, what I want to talk about today is, what the main differences are between playing Bad Company 2 on the PC compared to playing it on the consoles, because I think we can call the PS3 and the Xbox version of the game completely identical, minus some minor differences in frame rate. I've heard that the PS3 version has some stutters here and there, but other than that, the two console versions are basically the same. However, on the PC, there are some major differences, but let's get the obvious out of the way first. The PC version has better graphics. I mean, no one can doubt that. Of course, the game runs on a much powerful hardware in case of most PCs compared to what the consoles can offer. Of course, you get more customization options, so you can adjust a lot of the graphical settings. Of course, you're not stuck with 4 or 5 different preset button layouts. You can map all the different functions wherever you want them to be. You can adjust the field of view, which a lot of people think makes the game look a lot faster, and it actually does. So when you see some PC footage, it is not sped up. It is just the bigger and wider field of view that makes it look like it's faster. But the movement speed and everything, the damage stats, all of those are exactly the same on the PC, so there are no differences. The only real difference is that with sniper rifles, you have some scope sway, which you don't get on the consoles. It makes sniping a little bit harder on long range, but of course, if you can use the 4x scope, which gets rid of the scope sway completely. And the Gold Magnum has also no sway at all. It's just the M24 SV98 and the M95 which has this scope sway. But other than that, the gameplay is considerably faster. It's not just it doesn't just look like faster, but it is also faster because a good way to compare it to the console gameplay speed is by looking at my score per minute, because I have the exact same playstyle on the PC as I have on the console. I use the recount kit most of the time. I go for the objectives. I play very aggressively, which means that I die a lot. I don't really use vehicles, only for transportation. And I also don't really use the medic kit. It's by far my least used kit, and I only use it when I play on very small maps and I don't want to reload every 5 seconds. But other than that, I don't revive a lot of people or throw mad packs all the time to get a lot of points. And still, my score per minute with exactly the same playstyle is almost twice as high. It is 450 something on the PC and 240 on the Xbox. So that's a huge difference, and that really gives you an idea of how much faster the gameplay is on the PC. And this was quite funny because I picked up that other sniper kit and I've completely forgotten that I called in a mortar strike. Normally I don't use mortar strikes at all, and the moment I've called it in, I've completely forgotten about it. So I suicided. But trust me, it gets even worse than that, because just in a few seconds you're going to see something that not even an Enigma can pull off. Like watch this, epic 360 suicide for the win. Like, come on, you can't deny that was freaking epic. But anyways, moving on to the differences. Probably the most significant difference is in the gameplay, that you can play with 32 players. But honestly, I don't really like 32-player servers. I think that most of the maps are not designed to be played with 31 other players, so they're just not wide enough. And in most cases, the defenders will be able to completely lock the attackers down, and a lot of times it will just end up as a huge spawn camp. The attackers won't even be able to get past the first base. So I don't really like 32-player servers. I think the only maps that are probably good for 32 players are, what is that, Heavy Metal Conquest and maybe Harvest Day Conquest. But the other maps are just way too tight and narrow for that many defenders. It's just very difficult to attack some of the bases with 32 players, especially if the defenders know what they're doing. So, okay, now that we've discussed all the objective aspects of the differences, let's move on to some of the subjective aspects. And I know that I might get some hate for this, but anyways, let's move on. So, enjoyment. How much I am enjoying the game on PC? Well, I think that it is basically the same. I rage just as much as I do on the Xbox. You still have all the players who don't give a shit about the objectives and just like to camp or just, I don't know, chill out. So you don't get any kind of sense of teamwork any more than you would get on the 360. And I know that some of the PS3 players say that it's a lot better on the PS3. And I don't know that, but if it's true, then I definitely envy them, because this is a team game and it should be played accordingly. So I mean, I understand that some players just want to play the game the way they want to, because I don't know, like they get home after a hard day of work and they just want to chill out and don't give a shit about anyone else. But this is a team game, so it's like being in a football team and just I don't know, like not passing the ball, just keeping it to yourself. That is selfish, and I don't think that's how people should play the game. But really, what can you do online other than cursing in the chat bars, which no one really gives a shit about? But anyways, in the first 2 weeks it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, for me it wasn't really difficult to make the transition because I'm originally a PC player, but it was still a fresh experience in the first 2 weeks, I would say. And despite having the same kind of frustrations that I have on the Xbox, it was still fun because of the different controls. And I would say that because the game isn't that difficult. In fact, Bad Company 2 is a pretty easy game. So if this is your first PC game, it is probably a good way to start PC gaming, because it's not one of those really difficult games that take months to get into. Like if you want to get into Counter-Strike or Quake or StarCraft, those games take a lot of practice. Bad Company 2 and of course Call of Duty, these are pretty easy games, so even if you're completely new to PC gaming and you're not familiar with the mouse and keyboard, you will still be able to get positive scores, and of course just help your team. You don't even have to get positive KDs and good scores. You can still help your team and be a valuable asset, and that is really important. So I think Colin is probably a better person to say this, but I think it took him 1 or 2 weeks to really familiarize himself with the game mechanics on PC and the controls. And after those 2 weeks, he was able to post up good scores and just be very effective. And I think these first weeks are almost the most enjoyable, when you're still new and you still have that fresh feeling. That is definitely something that you're going to miss later on. So I was looking forward to playing the game on the PC. It was over pretty quickly. It didn't took more than, I would say, 5 days to familiarize myself with the different controls. But it was still something new, something fresh, and I really enjoyed it. Now let's move on to something a little bit more controversial. The skill it takes to play on the PC, because you can see a lot of PC elitists on YouTube and people bashing console footages for it being easy mode and stuff like that. But I completely disagree with that. In fact, I think that because Bad Company 2 is such an easy game, it is easier to play on the PC than it is on the consoles. And even for those who are console gamers first and foremost, because even if you've never played an FPS game on the PC before, you'll still be able to get moderately good at the game in a couple of weeks. But for me personally, because I've never played any kind of console shooter before, it took months to to get really good because the controls were so different. So because of that, I think it is very easy to play on the PC. And that is another thing that is really pissing me off in the PC version. For some reason on the PC you get terrible hit detection. It is much worse than on the consoles, and I don't know the reason for that, but it's definitely annoying the shit out of me. It is especially bad with the single shot weapons, so the sniper rifles and the pump action shotguns. You get a lot of failed shots, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can see the blood coming out of their face, but you don't even get a single hit marker. That is really annoying, and so of course it varies depending on what server you're playing on, but it is not consistent, so that is a huge problem. But going back to how much skill the game takes, I think it is harder to play this game on a console with a controller than it is on the PC with a mouse and keyboard. And all this PC elitism is just completely unfounded. I would say that most PC players are just as bad or as good as console players are. I just think that the differences are bigger. You have players who are really, really good, and you have players who are really, really bad. So the differences are bigger on the PC than they are on the consoles. So I hope that made sense, and you guys managed to find something interesting in this commentary. If yes, please let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you soon. See you guys. Cheers.